Hello and welcome to this fourth video in our DSC series. In this video we'll be looking at using multiple DSC resources in our scripts. We'll also be looking at grabbing additional resources from the PowerShell gallery and showing you just the wealth of resources out there today. We'll then go in later videos to look at pull installations. Before we start, just a reminder that throughout these videos we are using WMF 5.0. You can also grab WMF 5.0 from the PowerShell gallery, and if you want to follow this URL, this will take you to the PowerShell gallery and you'll see the WMF 5.0 link on the home page. So let's start, and we'll start in the integrated script environment. So here we can see a few PowerShell commands, starting off with get-dsc resource. Now, if I execute this command, we're going to get a list of all the locally installed desired state configuration resources. So we'll execute this. And it takes a second to execute. And here we can see a list of all the locally installed resources. Now remember, DSC is a declarative language. So I want to install a Windows feature or role. I use the feature resource, and the feature resource understands exactly how to install Windows features. So the idea is that we don't need to know the complexity of performing operations. We just call resources who handle that complexity on our behalf. Now, as you can see from this list, there's a list of about 15 built-in DSC resources that we can see. Their names give some indication of what they can do. You can also Google, Bing for more information about each resource. Now, these resources that we're going to be using today will be the file resource and the Windows feature resource that we'll be using today. But just to give you an idea of the amount of resources out there, if we use the command find-module, this command goes off and looks at the PowerShell gallery and looks at all the modules that are made available through there. So you can see from this list there are lots and lots and lots and lots of resources available. If we do find-dsc resource, it finds a list of all the desired state configuration resources. Now you'll notice that some of these resources have a C in front of them, and other resources have an X in front of them. Well, the resources with an X in front of them are experimental resources and have been written by Microsoft, and they're sort of resources that have been put out there to be tested and worked on by you. And any suggestions you might have to make regarding the quality of the resource can be passed back to Microsoft. The ones with C in front of them have been written by the community, again by you, and have been submitted to Microsoft for inclusion in the PowerShell gallery. Now, all of these resources are available, and if we find a resource that we're particularly interested in, then we can install it. And we've got this PowerShell commandlet here, install module, and there's a module called XOU. So I can say install module name XOU, and we run that, and that should install that module locally on my machine. So if we do get DSC resource again, we've got XOU listed there. If we find another one, so let's have xdisk. So instead of XOU, we say xdisk. We run the install module command again. Yes to all, to trust the repository, and to run the set commands, and there we go. So now if I do get -DSC resource, we've got disk and or U installed. So pretty easy to get a list of resources. Now today, through the PowerShell gallery, we can get access to the Decide State configuration resource kit. And the resource kit, which I think is on version 10 today, includes a whole heap of DSC resources that have been provided for you by Microsoft. Now you can download the entire resource kit from the PowerShell gallery, and then you can just install the modules that you want to be able to use. Now the modules can be installed through PowerShell, like we've just seen, or you can copy them manually to the correct location. So we'll just show you where that would be. If we go to Explorer and Drive C, and Program Files, and Windows PowerShell, then under Modules, you see here the modules that we've downloaded, Xdisk and XOU. So when you get the resource kit, just place the X modules into this location, and they should appear available to use. If they don't appear, there is an import-module command that you can use to import the modules and make them available through PowerShell. Now, ultimately, any custom modules you download will need to be made available on the machines you're configuring. As we deploy the scripts and tell the remote machines that they need to use these resources, then they need to be available. Now right now, because I'm using push installations, that's quite a manual process. I'd have to make sure the DSC resources, that the modules are pushed out there before I run my scripts, or indeed as a part of running my scripts. Later on, when we talk about pull installations, we'll see that resources can be placed on central servers, and as the remote servers require those resources, the resources are pulled down from the central server. Now, there's one other command I want to show you here, and this is get DSC resource minus the resource name and syntax. And if we run this, this shows us the file resource and shows us some of the syntax that can be used as part of that resource. So if we're unsure of the syntax, we can run it from here, or we can view it from here, sorry. You'll see I've got the uninstall module command as well. So if you don't need modules in there in the future, uninstall module command, uninstall module dash name, and then the name of the module you want to remove. So that's just a little bit about viewing the resources that are available, grabbing resources from the PowerShell gallery. What I want to look at now is using multiple resources inside the same configuration file. We're back on our second tab now, and on this tab we've got a basic script, very similar to the script we used in previous examples, but this time instead of using just the Windows feature resource, we're also using the file resource. So let's take a look at the script. At the top we've got the configuration command again, and we've given the script the same name as before, myconfig, and the node $computers. So the $computers, if we scroll down, still references computer 1 and computer 2. Oh, sorry, server 1 and server 2, I should say. And then the top of the script is identical to the previous example. We're using the Windows feature, and we've called the section IS, and we're making sure that the web server feature is present on those remote machines. Now, I want to install the web server feature. When that's installed, if we scroll down, I want to use the file resource. And so we've got a file resource section here with I've called web files, and I want to make sure that on this two servers there is a directory present, this directory, the source path, and I put in the source path there. Notice a UNC path, that's very important. Your server 1 and server 2 in my case will be pulling down these files from a network share. So I've shared those files out, appropriate permissions, and they're going to be copied to the destination path, which in my case is C inetpub www root. Now, if we think about the flow of this script then, I want these files copied across into www root. www root will only be there once the IIS role, the web server role, is installed. So there is a flow that I want to follow. Now, if you're used to using scripts, if you write a lot of scripts, you're very sort of familiar with the flow that we start at the top, then lines get processed all the way to the bottom. Well, with design state configuration, there is no guarantee that the file will be processed in the order that it's written. Now, if you go online, there's plenty of information why Microsoft are going to do it this way. But the biggest reason is that they want you to make it clear the logic. You've got to define the logic of your scripts yourself. So when you've got multiple resources like this, where one resource relies on the resource being processed first, then they want you to use a feature called depends on. By using this depends on feature, they will guarantee that one part of the script, so in my case the IIS resource, will be installed first, and then the file resource will be called and processed. And having this depends on means that as they're processing your scripts, they can build logic trees to determine exactly the correct order that each resource should be called and each resource should be run, rather than leaving it up to just the order the script was written or a random order that Microsoft chooses. So I'm going to edit this script, and if we edit the file resource, and we're going to add an extra section, the depends on section, and we're going to include the name of the section that we depend on. So it's the Windows feature resource that I've called that section IIS. So down here, Windows feature IIS. And what we're saying is, do not process this section until the IIS section has been processed first. So if I just save this, and then we'll execute the first part of the script just like we did before. So we'll run selection, and that's created two MOF files for me. And if we take a look at the MOF files, so we'll go to Explorer, My Config, and we'll open up one of the MOF files. So here in the MOF files, we can see the two resources being called, Windows Feature IIS and File Web Files. We can see the source paths, destination paths that are being called, that are being created. So it looks good, the host that's pushing it out. So all this looks good. And there's one MOF file for server 1, and a second MOF file for server 2. So all we need to do now is start DSC configuration. So very similar to the example we ran in the previous video. We would start DSC configuration, the path to the MOF files, and the computer name section list the computers that want to push this configuration out to. So we'll just run that command, and it'll start the DSC configuration. So hopefully right now DSC is from the test process. So it's testing the local machines to see if this configuration is present. Once that test has passed, if it test passes, it does nothing else. In my example, the test will fail, and then it moves to the set section, which is setting then the configuration. So in our case, installing the IIS feature across both machines, and then copying the files across. Notice how it's doing server 1 and server 2 at the same time. This is what we're trying to say before about executing these against both machines. So if your Windows feature takes 5 minutes, or your script, sorry, takes 5 minutes to run against one machine, against two, well, probably 5 minutes. In parallel, these two DSC configurations. Now, I'll just take a second just to finish these off. This is a push install, great for testing, great for development, but in production, we'll be wanting to run pull installations, and that will be the subject of our next video. So we're almost done here, 91% across both servers. So get Windows feature started, get Windows feature succeeded. So it's processing the installation of IIS. You see there now, once IIS has been installed, it has started to copy the files across. And any second now should run to completion. Across both machines. Now remember, just because we see the completed script run here doesn't mean to say DSC is finished processing locally. So we still have the test DSC configuration commandlet that we can run, and we can see there that we've got a response true, which means that the machine has finished processing and the local configuration matches our DSC script. If we run get DSC configuration against one of those servers, then we can see the configuration that's been put in place. So if you take a look at this list, we've got my config, which is the script that's been pushed out there, the resource Windows feature IIS, making sure that the web server feature is present, then my config, the files resource called web files, making sure the directory is present beneath inet pub. So it all looks good. So all we need to do now is test. So if we open up in Explorer, and there you go. I think I've said in previous videos that I'm not a developer in any way, shape or form, so that's borne out by my website there. So there you have it. We've got DSC resources deployed locally, installed locally. We've used multiple resources inside our DSC script. In the next video then, we'll start to look at basic pull installations from an SMB3 file share. Then we'll go on to look at pull installations from IIS, and then finally we'll move on to using DSC in your Azure subscription. If you like these videos, feel free to subscribe to my channel, and if you have any suggestions for future videos, please let me know. Thank you.